Hi, everyone. You're listening to Radio Cherry Bomb, and I'm your host, Carrie Diamond. I'm the founder and editor of Cherry Bomb magazine. Today, we are kicking off our Fashion Plate miniseries, presented by our friends at Boden. Over the next few Wednesdays, we'll be talking to folks at the intersection of food and fashion, one of our favorite subjects, and how they bring taste and style to everything they do. We're starting with mother-daughter duo Trudy Crane and Chloé Crane-Leroux, authors of the brand new book, The Artful Way to Plant-Based Cooking, Nourishing Recipes and Heartfelt Moments. Chloé, who many of you know from Instagram and TikTok, is a photographer and recipe developer, and Trudy, well, Trudy literally makes plates, so she is perfect for Fashion Plate. She is a ceramicist and a model. We talk about their book, their close relationship, and the career pivots that got them to where they are today. Stay tuned for my conversation with Chloé and Trudy. Our Fashion Plate miniseries is presented by Boden, the British clothing company that you are going to fall in love with. Boden believes in color, timelessness, and attention to detail. If you have a passion for prints, florals, stripes, or maybe you're mad for plaid, Boden is your new best friend. Just the plaid pieces alone will delight you. There are plaid maxi dresses with, yes, pockets, the cutest plaid kitten heels, and a red plaid blazer and trouser set that you will no doubt see me in again and again this fall. We also need to talk about the Boden dress selection. Whatever the occasion, from work to weddings, they have dresses that will delight you. Boden also has great accessories, bags, shoes, and boots. There's mini Boden for children and even baby Boden. Boden was founded by Johnny Boden, a dog lover and our favorite, a girl dad. His irreverent spirit is a guiding light for the company. You'll meet Johnny later in our series. Head to Boden.com to brighten your day and your wardrobe. Use code CB10 for 10% off. Early bird tickets are now on sale for Jubilee 2025, which is taking place in Manhattan at the Glass House, a brand new location, very exciting, on Saturday, April 12th. Jubilee is a wonderful day of community and connection, and we would love to see you there. Visit cherrybomb.com for tickets and more. Also, we're hosting our very first Jubilee Wine Country at the beautiful Solage Resort in Calistoga, California, on October 26th and 27th. Join me, Dominique Crenn, Jenny Britton, Tanya Holland, and lots of other amazing folks for what is going to be an incredible weekend of food, drink, and of course, wine. For more information or to purchase tickets, visit cherrybomb.com. Now, let's hear from today's guests. Chloé, Trudy, welcome to Radio Cherry Bomb.
Thank you for having us.
I've loved learning about you, and we have a story on you in the new issue, and I kind of got to interview you once already, so it's really fun to talk to you again about the things that I just find so impressive about the two of you, both as individuals and as a mother-daughter team. But first, let's talk about this beautiful book, The Artful Way to Plant-Based Cooking. Chloé, let's start with you. So how did you and your mom wind up doing the book together?
We always had the idea of doing a second cookbook. We published our first one in 2017 with another author, but we always wanted to do a project, the two of us together as a team. I mean, we love working together. We have such a special bond, and we had been talking about this cookbook idea since the other one came out. So since 2017, we were talking about doing a cookbook that was about moments, was about traveling. We kept talking about this idea. We just knew that after the pandemic happened and after my career had changed, Trudy's career had kind of shifted, we just really wanted to put it into a physical book. Basically, how it came about is that, we had our idea, we pitched it, and it's been 2.5 years of work that we put in. It's just been such a journey, honestly.
Are you two in the book the same way you are in this book?
Not as much, I would say. There are photos of us, but this one is definitely a bit more about our actual relationship, which I think is very unique. Basically how I grew up, but also how you brought me up. And I think it just really talks more about the special bond that we have as mother-daughter, which is very different than the other one that we published before.
Trudy, you told me something interesting, that when you were growing up in British Columbia, that you weren't raised with food as the centerpiece and cooking and entertaining. And you wanted that for your young family in Montreal, where you moved.
I did. And when I first moved to Montreal and I started to make friends, we would sit and have dinner, and it would take hours, and we would have course after course. And this is amazing. I was so happy. I just loved it. And I said, after Chloe was born, this is how I want Chloe's life to be. And it was completely natural because this is how we were living. And Chloe just fit right into that. We have apéro hour, and I still do. Every day we have an apéro, and just having this feeling of family together and friends over and the hosting and dance parties. And it was all around food. Everything for us was around food and in the kitchen and all our friends cooking and so on. And so this was really important for me, for Chloe, and for our life together. It was a big change for me.
Another interesting thing about this book is it celebrates plant-based food. You, Chloe, went plant-based first, and then Trudy, you followed. Tell us why you went plant-based.
So I went plant-based vegan when I moved to New York, which was 10 years ago, which feels crazy to say. It went by so fast. But I tried being vegetarian for 6 months, and it was so easy to me. I first, when I moved to New York, felt like I was just being very unhealthy. I was a college student, of course, and ordering insomnia cookies at 3 a.m., which a college student does. After a few months of that, I was like, wow, I'm just really not taking care of my health. I was going to Parsons at the time, which was a pretty eco-conscious school, and we were talking about climate crisis. At the same time, a bunch of vegan documentaries were coming out, which was like Earthlings, Forks Over Knives. I was watching these and I was like, you know what? Let me just try it out. Try veganism, try a plant-based diet. I was already being vegetarian for 6 months. Let me try a few alternatives and see how I feel. I was really not pressuring myself in anything. And then I just went all in. At first, I remember Trudy being kind of like, what is this? Why are you being vegan? Like figuring out what was going on. And also her being a bit skeptical the first few years because, I think that's a normal reaction, especially when I didn't grow up being vegan.
As we went through the cookbook process and testing and so on, I said, okay, I think I can do this. And, I did it slowly.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a year. And the last thing I gave up was eggs because I really loved eggs. And I would come home from the studio and cook something up late at night. Once I let that go and doing this journey, I don't think there's really any fixed way you should do this. If it just is incorporating plant-based meals 2 or 3 times a week and just seeing how you feel after and seeing where you go with that. I think it's a different journey for everybody. And for me, I really felt great after, honestly, and I really enjoyed the cooking process. And I liked meat, but I didn't like to cook meat. And it felt very natural. I'm not surprised at all that Chloe went plant-based. She never liked meat. As she was growing up, she was pushing it to the side and never really liked it. So it seemed quite natural for her to do that. And that was 7 years ago I went to plant-based. So
And never looked back.
never looked back.
Do you always call your mom Trudy?
No, God, no. Absolutely not. I'm just saying it because we're on the podcast, but I call her mom all the time, of course.
Let's go back to Montreal. So you were cooking. When did you start to cook, Chloe? Do you remember the first thing you cooked?
Yes. The first thing I cooked was definitely pancakes with
Yes.
you.
Yeah, it was.
It was, it still is a weekend tradition, ritual. It's such a thing that we grew up doing. You taught me how to make pancakes every weekend, every Saturday. I would look forward to Saturday because we would make pancakes together. At first, it was pancakes that had animal shapes, and it was just very fun. But then obviously now it kind of just grew into this beautiful weekend ritual, which we both still do. You do that at home with your partner. I do that at home with my partner. So it's so fun to have this childhood memory. And when we're together, we still do that.
That's very sweet. You eventually became a very busy fashion executive.
Yes, I
A
did.
fashion marketing executive. Why did you gravitate toward fashion?
Well, I started in fashion when I was really young, and I loved it. I was a salesperson in a store, and I just loved the environment. I was always looking at the magazines, and, I really did it very slowly. I changed my job many times, and I was in visual presentation and display and so on. And then finally I went into marketing and became a vice president of marketing at the end of my career.
And you included Chloé in work somewhat. Chloé, you would go on shoots. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, absolutely. That shaped my entire childhood. I had the privilege, I would say, to be able to go on these photo shoots maybe twice a year, 3 times a year. My mom would basically do a huge campaign for the company that she used to work for, and I was so inspired by the set. I would go in and there was a photographer, 2 assistants, the fashion stylists, creative director, producer. There were so many people, and I was just in awe of that. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want to do. So that really, really inspired me, especially seeing the fashion world and seeing her be in fashion my whole childhood. I automatically thought, okay, I want to be also in the fashion industry, which is an incredible place to be.
You really gave Chloé her first camera at like the age of 5?
Yeah, I did. She was so creative. I could see right away. And so I tried to give her opportunities to express her creativity. You know, I would put paper on the walls and let her sort of draw on that rather than on the wall, but on the paper. And I gave her a camera and she would shoot little things, and then I would have the film developed and she could look at it. And
it was so great for me being like a young kid to have a film camera and for my parent to actually kind of take me seriously. You know, looking back now, like obviously I didn't think that when I was a child, but now for my parent to really trust me with a film camera and develop the film and, you know, for me to learn on my own and as such a young child and really being able to look at things and think about it and be like, wow, this is such a beautiful moment, object, landscape, whatever it might be, to really think that through. I think as a kid, being trusted by your parent and also just being pushed to be creative is so important.
We would talk a lot about what we saw.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be driving somewhere and we would have discussions about, what do you think of that billboard? What do you think of this, that? And really focusing on, you know, asking her what she thought of everything. And I think it really helped develop that creativity in her.
We'll be right back with today's guests. The fall issue of Cherry Bomb's print magazine is dropping very soon. It's all about the creative class. We're highlighting some of the most innovative and imaginative folks in and around the food world, from photographers to pastry chefs. I would love for you to subscribe to our magazine. It's one of the most beautiful ones around. It's thick and lush and filled with stories, recipes, and beautiful photos. We print the magazine at Meridian, a family-owned printing press in Rhode Island. The cutoff date to subscribe and receive the fall issue is Sunday, September 22nd, so don't delay. Subscribe and get 4 issues delivered direct to your door and free shipping. Head to cherrybomb.com for more.
Hi, peeps. It's Jessie Sheehan, the host of She's My Cherry Pie, the baking podcast from the Cherry Bomb Podcast Network. I have big news for you. My new cookbook, Salty, Cheesy, Herby, Crispy, Snackable Bakes, will be available on Tuesday, September 24th. This is my first savory baking book, and I'm so excited to share it with all of you. It features 100 easy-peasy baking recipes for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and, of course, snacking. From sage butter scones to smash burger hand pies and tomato za'atar galette. You'll also find 6 of my essential savory baking hacks, including how to make my magic melted butter pie dough and the quickest and easiest caramelized onions. I just announced my cookbook tour, and tickets are on sale right now at cherrybomb.com. The launch party will take place in Manhattan on Tuesday, September 24th. Then I'm in San Francisco on Tuesday, October 8th, Chicago on Tuesday, October 15th, and Boston on Wednesday, October 23rd, and I can't wait to see you. Thank you to Kerrygold and King Arthur Flour for supporting my tour. You can also click the link in the show notes of this episode to pre-order the book now, or pick up a copy at your favorite local bookstore starting September 24th. I hope you love salty, cheesy, herby, crispy, snackable bakes as much as I loved writing it.
By the time you were a teenager, you knew what you wanted to do for a living. Yeah. Tell us what you announced to your family.
I was 12 years old, 13 years old, and I was like, okay, well, I am going to be a fashion photographer and I am going to Parsons. I was just so convinced and knew exactly my path. You talk about your dreams as a kid and always kind of changes. And no, for me, it was set. And
It was really set.
Yeah. And when I graduated high school, I did this program that we have in Quebec called a CEGEP, which is essentially like pre-university. And it was a 3-year career program in photography. I applied to go to Parsons and I got accepted with a scholarship. So
it's so amazing to announce something as a preteen or a teenager and then actually stick to it.
Oh, for sure.
Trudy, you must have thought like, okay, she's saying this now. Let's see.
Well, I thought maybe she could change her mind over time because there was other things that she was doing creatively. And I thought, well, we'll see. And when she was 16, I think, she did a summer program at Parsons. And we thought, well, we'll send her a photography program and we'll see if she likes it. Well, she loved it. She absolutely loved it. And that sort of clinched the deal.
Okay, so you follow through on the goal. You go to New York. How was New York?
New York was crazy the first year that I moved. I felt like I was so out of place in some way. And I knew that I wanted to be here. I really did, but I didn't know anyone. I moved completely not knowing anybody. And I moved also when I transferred. So, most people, they go into college as a freshman. I went in as a junior, so I only had 2 years left. So everybody was already friends, and I just was coming in as the Canadian kid. And people were like, what is she doing? She wants to be a fashion photographer. And Parsons was very like artsy, and I just felt very out of place. But I made my way through. But the first year, I would say, I really wasn't sure about New York. It took me a long time. And I think that's also something that when people move to New York, you have to get used to it. It's an intense and crazy city for sure. But it took me a while. And after, I would say 2.5 years, it really started to feel like home.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Some Canadians are just too nice to live in New York.
I think so.
It's a tough city. It's a tough city.
We were talking about this yesterday. She would come back from New York, the first year, and I'd be, whoa. Just
get off your high horse.
Get them down a little bit.
I'm glad you made it. Not only made it, but you thrived. So, Trudy, we've got so many kids going away to school right now. It's September, and a lot of moms are empty nesters now. How did you handle the empty nest?
Well, it was a changing period for myself at the same time. I had decided to change my job. I had been in my position for a long time. And I had done it for so long that I felt I had done the rounds of fashion marketing. And I really wanted to do something that I really felt creative and that felt closer to my heart. So I quit my job and I became a ceramic artist, much to everyone around me saying, not a good idea, just stick with it. But honestly, I really had to do it. It just felt that it was necessary for me, for my creativity. I couldn't imagine myself staying in my job for another 15, 20 years. It was just too much.
And friends were like, it's your hobby. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Nobody makes money doing this. Why are you doing that? And I didn't think of it that way at all. For me, it was creative and I could make a business and I really wanted to do it. So I did. I quit my job and I went into the studio every day. I had a very clear picture of what I wanted to do, what collection I wanted to make, and I knew I wanted to make dishes. It was always in my head. Our whole life had revolved around the table, and for me, this was a completely normal thing to go into ceramics and make dishes. So I practiced. I went every day to the studio, and it was a community studio. There was just people coming and going, and I started to make my collection, and I got better and better and better, and put it online. It started selling. It was quite incredible, and I was sending dishes to everybody. Hey, look at my dishes.
So you knew this would be a business. Were you scared?
Terrified. Terrified, of course, to make such a big change in your life and to go into something that is not sure. And, and I changed really my whole life. I ended up moving and going out on my own. And so it was a really big period in my life. I cannot imagine not having done it today. I mean, I'm so happy that I made that move.
And the line is called Looks Like White.
Yes, it is.
Why that name?
I really wanted to make white dishes, white matte or shiny dishes, because I just love the way food looks on white dishes. And it's just this beautiful palette that is waiting for the colors and the beauty of the food. So in my mind, I was only going to make white dishes. Eventually, I did make other colors, not much though, sort of some pastels, and I made a bit of black and a little bit of gray, but I really stuck with white, and I just love it. I love it.
And some of them have your handwriting.
Yes, I do. I put some handwriting. It's very few that I do. I do a lot with texture, linen and lace. I have some old French laces, and I do imprint that into the clay. My newest collection has handwriting on it, so I love that.
Trudy, you had another interesting creative detour. You became a model.
I know.
Tell us what age you became a model at.
59. I was doing some work. People had asked me to do a bit of modeling, not being paid, just doing little things here and there. So I was doing it just for fun. And a photographer put my photo up on her page, on her Instagram. And a modeling agent in Canada got in touch with me, and she said, "Hey, do you want to be a model?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Hey, new career at 59." And I've been doing it since, and I absolutely love it. It's so much fun. It was easy for me because I had been on set so much in my life that it didn't feel like a scary thing for me to do. And yeah, I know, I just love it. It's been great.
It's such a great story.
It is. What I love so much about it, I get to meet so many interesting people. And I think it's so important to show that we're here, mature women. We're still out there. We're doing new things. We're trying things. We are still shopping. We're buying fashion or creams or whatever it is. And I think it's really important to have that role model for other women, that you can make changes in your career after 50, and that we're important and we're still out there.
Absolutely. You, Chloé, had your own pivot.
Yeah.
You were on this path that you announced at the age of 12 or 13. You're going to be a fashion photographer. You grew up on sets, with your mom. But you come to a realization that that was not what you wanted to do. How did that happen?
Yeah, I feel like it was a pretty quick realization for me, actually, because I really started working in fashion kind of when I moved to New York, and I was interning a lot. When I graduated, still doing a bit of fashion, but there was something that just felt a bit off. And at the same time, I was also exploring different fields within photography and different industries as well. I had a food shoot for a company in Canada. I had actually pitched myself to them, and I started shooting for them. And I quickly realized that, wow, I just really love food people so much more. It just felt just more natural. I just was in it and just felt like this was exactly where I was supposed to be. As much as I do love fashion and style, I love clothes, being around food and always loving food, and food was such a big thing growing up, it just all made sense. It just felt, exactly right.
You found your tribe.
I did.
So you have this big pivot to food. And psychologically, what are you thinking? You had been on this path for so long. Like when you went plant-based, you knew that was the right thing to do for you, and you felt like yourself immediately. Was it the same with the transition from fashion to food?
Absolutely. I think at first there was maybe like a bit of imposter syndrome, or even just like feeling maybe I had failed myself in some way, just because I always thought that I would be this big fashion photographer and work with all these companies. I've always been a big manifester in my life and always writing down what I wanted. And I had written down that I wanted to have a spread in Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and all these different magazines and doing editorial. But I really, really absolutely loved shooting food. There was something so natural and also very peaceful about it. I just love how light goes onto food. It's just so beautiful, and like people just get excited around food. I quickly realized that it's okay. I'm really being guided in that way, and I'm going to listen to what the universe is basically telling me, which was to be in the food space.
Mm-hmm. And people might not know this. You had a serious photography career before you became this social media personality. But tell us, you were doing cookbooks, ad campaigns, lots of things.
Yes, a lot of cookbooks, a lot of ad campaigns, really working with a lot of different wine companies as well. I would travel a lot. I would go to South America. I would go to France, and I would shoot for these different wine companies. We would shoot food pairings with wine. So it was really incredible, and I loved doing that so much. It was such a great time for me because I was also working with chefs a lot when I was doing that. I was surrounded by a team as well, but I would be the photographer. So I would kind of look at what was going on behind the scenes where I was working with food stylists and prop stylists and chefs, and they would be actually doing the food. And I would create these relationships with different chefs and ask what they were doing, kind of just really learning from them, which I loved because I loved food. I would see what they were doing, and I was on set and photographing all these beautiful dishes. Then I would want to recreate exactly what I was shooting on set, but making it vegan, plant-based. And that was really how it all started. I would see all these things and I'd be like, oh, this is such a challenge for me, and it would be so much fun. And then I would go home and really get the spices that I wanted, kind of explore and, do my research. And that's really, really how it started. So for me, it was really more of like being educated through these photo shoots that I was on after doing my own thing and putting in like my own hours of learning on my own. So it was kind of like the YouTube version of me learning a skill, but doing it in person with chefs, and it really after going home and being able to do it myself.
And this was more of a passion than I'm going to turn this into a
absolutely
thing one day. Yeah.
I really at first was kind of like, I love food. This is a passion. I loved cooking. I just really, really loved it. I loved cooking vegan. That was really what I loved the most. But then when the pandemic happened, I think, it changed so much for so many people.
This turned out to be a second pivot for you.
It was a second pivot because as much as like we had already done a cookbook then, I was, as we were all at home, kind of stuck in our very small apartments in New York City, but I was cooking all the time and I couldn't go on food shoots, and I would be at home and say, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because I basically can't do my job and I can't be near a team. So I'm going to turn to social media and see what I can do with that. I had a small following then. I really started to kind of showcase what I was doing, putting more of myself on social media as well. I used to just post my work. So I was putting myself more in front of the camera, and I could see the people were really enjoying that. And also at the same time, August 2020, Reels came out. And I decided, look, I'm going to really hone into this because I see that there's an interest from people, and I'm going to post a reel every day. And I did that for about 2 years, and it kind of grew.
That is dedication.
Very quickly.
It really is.
It was insane, but I really was so happy I did it because looking back now, it really grew into this full-blown business, and I'm so grateful for it. And I also just realized that I love being able to show my recipes online, and I got such great feedback from my followers, from people, and it was a time where I was kind of figuring it out and kind of even having a bit of imposter syndrome because I was like, I've studied photography for 5 years. This has been my career for 10 years, and now am I a content creator? Am I a cook? What am I, So
what are you? What do you call yourself today?
I like to call myself a food storyteller, creative director, recipe developer. I think there's so many titles for me, which I love. And I had a hard time with that actually, just being like, what am I? How many titles do I have? But I love that we're all on this earth to do so many things, and we're all here to learn. If that means changing your path in different ways and being able to kind of go through your own journey, to me, that's just the best.
I also think some folks forget that you are entrepreneurs and serious entrepreneurs. And that's another interesting parallel with the two of you. You always worked for other people, and now you work for yourselves.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I feel like I've pretty much been a freelancer my whole entire life. I did do a few internships. I obviously have some clients, but I was kind of a freelancer for a long time. I mean, still am. But I think both having businesses and being kind of these business women that we not only have a business together, but we both have our own work and our own entrepreneurs in some way, that was just very inspiring for the two of us.
Yeah, and I think it was really a great support. We really supported each other through that. I turn to Chloé very often for advice and what do you think of this? And she does the same for me. So it's actually been really great that we were able to go through this together and to support each other for sure.
How big is your team?
I have my assistant, which thank God for her because I feel like that would be really, really hard. I have 2 managers and then I have my manager's assistant. I talk to them every single day. And then I have my PR team. We're a team. So I would say, a few people involved, a few cooks in the kitchen.
I think it's good for people to know that because it can seem like you're just this magical solo creator.
No, for sure. I think it's good for people to know that most of the time there's a team involved, especially when you have a business. I know that a lot of people say, wow, this is amazing. What do you do? How do you do it? But if you don't have the help, I think it would be way too overwhelming.
Yeah. Give folks one social media tip.
Oh, wow.
When you look at people's accounts and you're like, oh, I wish they would just do this.
I think staying as authentic to yourself is so important. I think a lot of people try to emulate what they see, which is, I think, a normal thing to do when you first start. But really do what you love. Really, really do what your passion is and what you feel most comfortable in. And doing things that are challenging is super important, but also do things that you feel the best in and that resonates to you, and talk about things that matter to you. I think some people think, okay, well, maybe I'll just do this and that will go viral. But I think the end goal is not to go viral. I think that's so important because I think everybody just wants to go viral, but that's not the point. Building community is so important. And that's what I've learned in the last year. I think building community is so much more important than just going viral and gaining followers. If you build a community and if you can have people be fans of you in a way that they will support projects, cookbooks, things like that is so much more important. So talk about things that really, really you love. Build a sort of niche for first is super important. Then just really, really hone into that because I think that that's your superpower in social media.
Do you follow some of the trends? Do you feel kind of forced to do that? Like, did you do brat? Did you do demure? Are you going to do pumpkin spice latte next?
I think there's fun ways to do trends for sure. I'm not a big trend follower, but I do think that they're so funny. And sometimes like audios just crack me up. And I think like, I got to jump on that.
Trudy, I didn't see any brat content on your Instagram this summer.
I'm still waiting for it, honestly.
All right, let's talk about this cookbook because I could talk to you too about a million other things before we talk about this. What is a great gateway recipe? Like, what is the first recipe someone should make that sort of unlocks the book?
Well, a recipe that I really love and that is so easy to make and it's just delicious is the galette, the squash galette. Chloé makes it all the time too. Really delicious. And the other one is the pea pesto asparagus tart. I make it every week. It is just a hit. It's a favorite. If we have people over, I'm going to make the tart.
What kind of squash do you use in the squash galette?
I used zucchini and...
It's butternut squash.
Butternut squash.
So they're two separate ones or they're both in
together?
The same one? Okay.
Yeah, really delicious.
I love a galette because you can just kind of freeform it and put whatever you want in it.
Exactly, you can. Yeah. For sure.
It's so funny because when I think of a galette, they kind of bring your dishes and other pieces to mind.
Yeah,
they're so fun because you can make a rustic galette, you can make a round one, you can make a rectangular. To me, making galettes is just the best thing for hosting because they're easy to make. Everybody loves them. They're always such a hit. I make them all the time in literally 2 minutes. They're gone. I'm like, okay, I should have made 3 then. It's always what I think. But there's such great recipes for hosting. And I think that was really so important for us because all of the chapters are made out of moments, but also just entertaining and hosting is such a big part of the cookbook, of our lifestyle, of our life in general. But a lot of the recipes are just so shareable and just great to have with friends and family and loved ones.
Do you have a different gateway recipe than your mom?
I love the spinach pies. I make them all the time because I bring them to a friend's house when, we're having a little get together. My favorite chapter is apéro. That is just basically little snacks before dinner. Obviously, many times it kind of just turns into dinner for us. The ultimate girl dinner, I would say. But yeah, I have so many recipes for apéro. I love the blinis. I make those all the time. Pickled carrots, but they're supposed to be like faux salmon.
So you have a whole gateway chapter.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I do. Sorry. I'm like literally rambling about like all my favorite recipes.
No, it's good. Hey, you should love your own book. Absolutely. Okay. Which recipe do you think will be the most popular? Because there's always one that bubbles up.
That's a really good question.
It is.
Maybe the mushroom bolognese. I think that might
I
be
flagged that one. Tell us how you make it.
It's so good. I mean, I feel like mushrooms, to me, they're one of my favorite ingredients. The thing is that I feel like sometimes, you either love mushrooms or you don't. It's so good. It even, to me, it's almost very meaty. The mushroom is seasoned so beautifully. Everything just goes into a pan. The flavors just bubble up. The mushrooms are just so flavorful. To me, pasta is just an easy dish as well, but also one that anybody loves. You make a pasta dish and it's always so popular.
And I think it's a good one because if you are just sort of trying out plant-based recipes, it does kind of have that meaty feel.
Tell me how long the bolognese takes to come together.
About 40 minutes.
Yeah.
All of our recipes are pretty simple
They
and
really
straightforward. We really wanted the ingredients to be approachable and for anybody to find them easily in their local grocery stores. I think that it's so important to make it as approachable, as simple as possible, yet so flavorful, so tasty. All the recipes are around like 35 to 45 minutes. That's the thing. I know that we're all busy. Our world is going faster and faster all the time. People want to still eat a home-cooked meal, but we don't want to take 3 hours to do it, especially New Yorkers, I'm just saying.
All right. Next question about the recipes. I think I know the answer to this one. Which recipe is the most nostalgic for you two, or the most emotional?
Pancakes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's for sure.
For sure.
This is a very nostalgic recipe for us because I think that we just obviously made that forever, but also just it's something that is, I don't know, it's been in the book.
Comfort food.
But it's also been written for years, It's just...
Is it a classic pancake recipe?
It is.
Yeah,
It's a classic pancake recipe that
made vegan.
Yeah, of course, that we've done forever. But yeah, we changed the recipe 10 years ago. It used to have eggs and, now it doesn't. But it's just such a good one. It has flaxseed meal and you make an egg with that and it's just so good. And it helps you with your digestive system, which is even better.
And it's nice and fluffy and all the same things as a
so
traditional
fluffy.
pancake?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Are you doing a cookbook tour?
Yes, so we're doing a few dates here in New York. We'll be going to LA at the end of September as well. We're trying to see about Paris soon.
Oh,
so
fun.
that could be really, really fun. But hoping that we do maybe London as well. So a couple.
Montreal?
And Montreal, of course. I
For
can't
sure.
forget about the hometown. Sorry, guys. But yes, Montreal for sure. That will be on the list. So, a few different cities that also mean a lot to us. So,
Okay, very exciting. And tell folks where they can find your plates and beautiful dishes and everything.
I do have some on Food 52 and, of course, on my website, and they are on Etsy. And
they're in the book.
And they're in the book.
That must have been fun.
that was so much fun.
Yes, carrying them across the ocean was something else.
Yes.
Oh, and we have to talk about that. So you shot this book.
I did. I shot this book fully, except for a few photos of us, of course, but fully shot our own cookbook, which is just such a gift. Honestly, what a privilege. We shot it in Spain and in France. So it was such a beautiful I don't know, I just kind of tied everything together with the travel aspect in the book and the Mediterranean-inspired travels, food and culture. It just all makes so much more sense. So
it was a beautiful trip.
It really was.
The pictures are so beautiful. I mean, the two of you under the wisteria and the orange tree and the sunset behind you. And I mean, it's a gorgeous book to flip through.
Yeah, we really wanted to be inspiring to others, and I hope it comes through.
So you shot it in Spain and France?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. In Spain, we went to Mallorca, which is one of my favorite places in the world, to a really small town near Girona on the coast of Spain. It was just such an amazing place, too.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
Was it a tough cookbook to do? You two seem like it was a really lovely experience.
Oh, we have some stories, honestly. Podcast number 2, maybe. We have some stories about what happened on our trip. But we do talk about a few of the anecdotes that, in the book. Yeah. It was such a lovely and beautiful experience, but obviously
there's always going to be things. Well, we lost our luggage, and the first 4 days I
had lots of vegan cheese and vegan butter in my luggage. So.
And all the dishes and everything. So we did get it back after 4 days finally.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I don't want to smell vegan cheese after 4 days.
Yeah. No,
it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad, no.
No.
There was a few adventures for sure.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, congrats on the book. It's really gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to cook from it. There are so many things I flagged that I want to make, including the bolognese. Yay. That's probably the first thing I'll make. Let's do a little speed round. Okay, what beverage do you start the morning with?
Coffee.
Definitely.
How do you take it?
In the summer, I'm going to do an iced oat milk cortado. Always. It's my favorite thing. In the winter, I'm definitely going to do just like a drip coffee with a splash of oat milk or soy milk. That's how I like it.
Hot cappuccino, oat milk. Every day, no matter what the temperature is.
I love it. What was your favorite childhood food?
The thing that we made the most was pesto pasta. I think that was really something that we made a lot. Obviously, pancakes, of course. But I loved sushi, and I still do vegan sushi now. But the thing that I really loved was either like a pasta. I think that was what my request was every night.
Almost.
Yeah.
What was your favorite childhood food?
Toast with cinnamon and brown sugar.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What's always in your fridge?
Oat milk for sure, and vegan Parmesan.
Mine is tofu. I think I have 4 different tofus in my fridge. I love tofu, and I really didn't like it when I first went vegan. And yeah, I have it all the time.
What's your favorite food film?
My favorite one was The Taste of Things. It was with Juliette Binoche. Oh my God, I cried, and I watched it twice already, and I just, every time, it's such a beautiful film, but also the way it is filmed, the recipes, the beauty of everything, just, I want to be there. It's such a magical movie.
It really is. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely my favorite also. It is so moving, and like Chloé said, it is just this beauty around the film, the set, the nature, the way they set the table, and it was
the kitchen,
really inspiring.
The kitchen.
Oh, wow.
The kitchen was...
That was a spectacular movie. Yeah. Juliette Binoche was on the show, which was so thrilling.
That's amazing.
That was a big pinch me moment.
Incredible.
Okay, what's your favorite snack food?
Crackers and olives.
Chips.
Okay. Traditional. What's your favorite smell?
My favorite smell is probably garlic and onions, honestly. When they're cooked with olive oil, butter in a pan, they just smell incredible. And like even putting a bit of rosemary in there. I don't know, just like garlic and onions together when they're being fried in a pan just makes the apartment smell so amazing.
Or when your neighbors are doing something like that and you walk in the hallway and you're like, oh.
Yes, absolutely.
Trudy, how about you?
It's probably rosemary and lavender. We have in our yard. We moved to the country, and just passing by and putting your hand over that and smelling it.
What's a cookbook that you treasure?
Mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay.
No, I have so many cookbooks. Oh my God. It's like,
Yeah, I do too.
I have obviously, because I buy a lot of cookbooks and also I get sent many.
I would say for me, when we first went vegan and I was struggling a bit with what to do, I turned to Isa, and she has several cookbooks. And
Isa cooks.
Isa Cooks, yeah. ISA. Those are great books, especially, as a beginner. It was very detailed, and it really helped me to understand how to cook vegan food.
Okay, I'm going to say any book by Mimi Thorson. I just adore her completely. She is such an inspiration to me. I have all of her cookbooks. Yeah, she's so incredible. I think the French Country one is probably my favorite.
Dream travel destination.
Oh, wow.
What's still on your list, places to go?
I really want to go to Morocco. It's been on my list for a long time. And Japan, for sure. Which I feel like you're probably going to say the same thing.
Yes, definitely. For sure, Japan. I really want to go. That's top of my list.
Same, top of my list.
And to see the ceramics and to visit some of the villages and to see some of the work that they're doing. And it's amazing.
Okay, last question. If you had to be trapped on a desert island with one food celebrity, who would it be and why?
I think I would actually want to be trapped with Stanley Tucci. Because I love him so much. I'm obsessed. I just love every single thing that he does. All of his videos on Instagram crack me up. He's the best. I would watch him forever. I also was such a big fan of his show on CNN and was so sad when it stopped. So yes, him, definitely.
We love the Tucci.
Hi, Stanley.
Here at
I'm
Cherry
also
Bomb.
a fan.
Yeah, he's amazing.
You can't say the same thing as Chloé.
Maybe Pamela Anderson I would love to meet. Yeah, she's such an avid, long-time vegan. She's so dedicated to it. And
Team Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
She has a cookbook coming out.
I know, and I just think that's amazing. She's got such a story to tell. So
Yeah. Oh, fun answers. Okay. All right. Well, you two are so special. I love getting to know you more and more. You've put out this beautiful book into the world. And just thank you for the gifts, your beautiful mother-daughter story. It's really inspiring and wonderful.
Thank you so much for having us. This was so enjoyable.
Thank you. It's been great.
That's it for today's show. Thank you so much to Chloé and Trudy and the team at Bowden for making our mini-series possible. Check back next Wednesday for more Fashion Plate. I would love for you to follow Radio Cherry Bomb wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating and a review. Let me know what you think about the show and who you would love to hear from on a future episode. Our theme song is by the band Tra La La. Thank you to the teams at CityVox and Good Studio. Our producers are Catherine Baker and Elizabeth Vogt. Our associate producer is Jenna Sadu. And our content and partnerships manager is London Crenshaw. Thanks for listening, everybody. You're the bomb.